From the gridiron to the diamond, this is more than X's and O's. This is your best Florida sports podcast with CBS 12 News sports director John Evenson, producer extraordinaire Sam Sullivan, and Max Shepman with the lighter side of sports.
It is episode 23. It is 2-3, the Michael Jordan Goated edition.
And everyone is turning down the volume slightly as we speak. They're not used to Max Shepman starting the show with this massive volume coming at them, and they might have been scared and spilled their coffee, but no Sam Sullivan this week. Do you know where Sam is? Where is Sam?
I believe Sam is probably getting a little buzzed on a cruise right now. Maybe a little bit more than a little.
I hope the seas are treating him well. He's actually on a cruise?
I can't confirm he is actually on a cruise because I texted him. I was like, hey, man, you're off today, right? He's like, yeah, I'm on a cruise, so don't worry about me. So I can't officially confirm he is on a cruise.
Well, he has fair skin. He's a redhead, he is, so I hope he's using that sunscreen. He doesn't come back looking like a lobster, although that would be funny next week if there was a bright red Sam Sullivan sitting right here.
He is a very pale man, and I feel like, especially if, well, I don't know. You've been on a cruise before, right?
No, I've never been on a cruise.
Okay.
No, a boat, yes.
Cruise virgin. Okay, I like it. Cruise virgin.
Still to this day.
I will say I've been on a couple cruises, and especially like if you're pounding a few beverages back, you kind of like lose track of like when you last put sunscreen on.
Yeah.
Like the sun is your worst enemy, especially buzzed on a cruise.
You're in the middle of the ocean. Something tells me there's no escape from the sun. It's like you're Tom Cruise on that little piece of, Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks on that little piece of wood, you know, with your volleyball buddy. And
Wilson?
You're getting charbroiled. Yeah, that's a bad see. Your lips are starting to
chap a little bit.
You know, like bleed. There's so much sun. Yeah. You got to be careful on those cruises. I can imagine. I went to an all-inclusive trip on my honeymoon. It was in the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico.
All right.
And a bunch of Canadians were on our flight and stuff. And
felt right at home, didn't you?
It was raining the whole time. Like they go, it never rains here, and it rained the entire time. Last day, we finally got some sun, and so everyone just went crazy and went out there and drank at the pool and just tried to soak it all in because you want to go back, you want to have a tan, you want to tell people you were away in Mexico. And this one guy just did not put on sunscreen. And I kept telling him, like, dude, you don't understand how strong this sun is. You got to watch. And whole day, no sunscreen. Oh, my. He was on the flight the next day. He literally looked like a lobster, like, with, like, the snappers. He was just, like, screaming in pain. His whole skin was, like, tight leather. Every bump, every turbulence of the plane. It was so bad. He was.
It's got to be like the worst feeling of all time. Like especially like those guys that wear like, you know, obviously like the shorts and whatever.
Yeah.
And then like you could just see just the sunburn just running up his leg, and you just know that's probably like the most excruciating pain that man has ever been in his life.
And to have to fly home, and all you want to do is to get into a cold shower, just day.
Like a full ice bath.
Anyway, we'll assess Sam Sullivan's complexion.
He will be back next week.
He's missing a great show, though, man, because we are so excited. I don't think you and I have been equally as excited about something as we are for this Four Nations Face-Off championship game between USA and Canada. 3 Panthers involved, which says a lot for how awesome the Florida Panthers are. Your reigning Stanley Cup champions. Matthew Tkachuk, of course, the alternate captain for USA. Sam Bennett and Sam Reinhart playing for Team Canada. And, this is hostile stuff, as we saw on Saturday night when these two teams met for the first time.
This is probably the biggest hockey game, I don't know, in 10 years?
It's definitely, like, there has not been an international championship game involving professional players of this caliber, like all the best NHL guys, and definitely not Canada versus USA. For this entire generation of new NHL players, we've never experienced this.
Well, for the people that's listening and for the people that are watching on YouTube. Obviously, I think everybody knows how big of a game it is, and we figured in our best interest that we would want to get everybody fired up. So we have a special treat from our very own John Evenson. So Johnny, take it away.
We talked about this. You want me to do the?
Yeah,
you've seen Miracle, right? Many times.
Absolutely, it's probably the greatest. Honestly, it's top 2 sports movies of all time.
I think it's the one movie where I could turn it on.
I probably put Friday Night Lights number 1.
Yeah. But this makes Miracle makes my eyes well. I cry during Miracle, especially when they get the job done, and I know how much it means to the country to win this thing. They beat the Soviets, but this speech I'll change it to they're playing against.
I want the full Herb Brooks speech.
All right.
I want the accent and everything, John. I want you to get me fired up, and I want you to get everybody fired up.
Before I read the speech, let's hit this first because this is a big part of it.
Okay.
Matthew Tkachuk, our own Matthew Tkachuk, reigning Stanley Cup champion. If you saw the game on Saturday night, I'm just working up to this speech because we got to remind ourselves how fired up we're going to be on Thursday night. Matthew Tkachuk. So picture this. You're in, if you didn't see it, Montreal, the most hockey crazy city in the world, between Montreal and Toronto. Montreal has everyone from Canada traveled there to watch this thing. USA and Canada on the ice. You know how much this means to Canada, right? They're like, this is our sport. And
everybody in the 51st state took that day off.
Hey, listen, that's the type of talk that's going on there between the fans and the Canadians, right? Like, especially because it's been all fired up politically with the tariffs and everything, which it made me sick to my. It makes me sick to my stomach.
Because
when I hear the booing of any national anthem, but hearing.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that real quick. We've seen the debate and all that stuff. You just kind of touched upon it as a Canadian guy,
Canadian-born man.
What your thoughts on Canada booing the national anthem?
Well, see. There's 2 separate things here, and even Matthew Tkachuk said so. Like, it makes me sick to my stomach to hear fans, Canadian fans, booing the American national anthem, for sure. And I hate the whole politics side of it because it is a sporting event. So of course there's bad blood between countries who want to beat each other on the ice. But when you're booing a national anthem, that was obviously due. I don't want to turn this into a political show, but like the tariff discussions that are going on right now, and so that was a political statement by the fans there, except for maybe the dumb. People who just feel like, oh, we're going to boo too, or whatever. And Matthew Tkachuk, when we saw all those fights at the beginning of that game,
honestly, like I will say, like that was probably one of the most exciting. Not everybody's a big fan of it, I know, but like that was probably one of the greatest 9 seconds of a hockey game I think I've ever seen.
Yeah,
just based on the situation, the atmosphere, like we all know the bad blood between Canada and U.S. in hockey. Like it's probably one of the biggest rivals since of all time.
And what a strategy! Matthew Tkachuk
also just planning it out in a group chat.
But that's the thing. So we thought at the time. So it was so hard to watch the bad blood in the opening ceremonies with the anthems. The Montreal guy had to, the PA announcer had to say, let's respect each other's anthems and stuff. And then I'd say maybe 70% maybe of the crowd booed because of for political reasons. And whatever, the protest. But when Matthew Tkachuk dropped the gloves 3 seconds in and they started fighting, and then it was with Hagel, right? And that was a huge fight. Got everyone fired up even more.
Well, don't forget the Brady-Tkachuk fight first.
Fought Sam Bennett.
Correct.
No, that was the second fight. Sam Bennett and Brady Tkachuk fought second. It was Matthew Tkachuk who fought first.
No, I thought it was Sam Bennett that was first.
No, Sam Bennett.
Am I losing my mind here? I might.
I'm almost positive, unless I saw it in reverse. Unless I was rewinding, I was so excited, and I was like.
Anyways, continue your.
So anyway, after the game, they won 3-1. USA did. They completely took the momentum away from anything that Canada had at the beginning of that game. It was a brilliant strategy, and Matthew Tkachuk was asked, did that have anything to do with the booing of the national anthem? He laughed. He said, no. So he seems to understand that, the Americans and Canadians, they play on the same NHL team together. They're all buddies. But
You're right. I can't confirm also Matthew did start first, so my bad.
Yeah.
It's tough. Both Tkachuks are out
I watched
there.
the game.
My bad. My bad, America.
Don't ever question me again. No, I'm just kidding. So anyway, we should drop the gloves, Max. You want to drop the gloves?
I want to. This is going to be true USA Canada right here in this podcast.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's perfect dynamic right here. But so Matthew Tkachuk confirmed it had nothing to do with the booing of the national anthem. It had to do with a group chat,
which is like such like a boys thing to do. Just start up like a group chat. It's like, you know what?
Yeah.
We're gonna start 3 fights in this American USA Canada game, and like I can only imagine like what that group chat, like the responses to that text message would have been.
Well, picture how competitive the Tkachuk brothers are. They know that they're going into this atmosphere in Montreal.
Every game they go to war.
Yeah, and they're going into this Montreal atmosphere. I think it's the Bell Center, and they know everyone's going to be fired up. It became the in thing to boo the anthem, to protest the tariffs that could be coming, and they were already going to be just in this hostile territory. So what better way to whip that momentum the other way than to just have 3 fights in 9 seconds? It almost evened the playing field right at that point. Everything was even at that point. They had made their statement, and then they just went on and played USA hockey, and it was a brilliant hockey strategy, too. They didn't give the Canadians much room to skate.
It was probably like one of the greatest forechecking games I had seen in a while.
Yeah, and to stop, the likes of, Connor McDavid and some of those, that power play, is just lethal. So 3-1 final, and now we're looking ahead to Saturday night. It's all worked out where USA is playing Canada again, and this is the speech that I feel they got to bring in, like, who played Herb Brooks in that?
Kurt Russell?
Yeah, Kurt Russell, he could come in maybe and do this speech for everyone.
We'll try to slide in his DMs to see if he can come on next week if America wins.
Oh, that'd be great. Great moments are born from great opportunity. And that's what you have here tonight, boys. That's what you've earned here tonight. 1 game. If we played them 10 times, they might win 9. But not this game. No, not tonight. Tonight, we skate with them. Tonight, we stay with them. And we shut them down because we can. Tonight, we are the greatest hockey team in the world. You were born to be hockey players. Every one of you. And you were meant to be here tonight. This is your time. Their time is done. It's over. I am sick and tired of hearing what a great hockey team the Canadians have. Screw them! This is your time now. Go out there and take it! You like that, Max? You like that? You like that, Max? Is that good?
No,
did I make you proud?
Was very
did
impressive.
I make you proud?
I am ready to throw on some skates right now and defend my country's honor.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you though, as you've already alluded to, born and raised in Canada, it's in my 20s, lived up there. Moved to the USA, worked in Syracuse for 10 years, been down here for 10 more. So it's very interesting, as Randy Moller talked about coming up here, the best guy to get some insight from, the Panthers TV analyst. He knows all the Panthers guys. He too, same as me, grew up in Canada, lived there most of his, teenage life, and then has made his home down here in Florida for years now. He described it the same way. Like, I watch this game. I know how much it means to Canada. Those juices come back. I can feel the intensity of what they're going through. But then I also know USA as an almost equal hockey power wants to prove, and their youth programs have been getting better. The popularity of the sport has been getting better in the United States, and it's just like how huge it is every time you beat Canada to win gold, and like the Canadians, the fans can be really cocky and about hockey and owning the sport. And when USA wins anything, you get proud. So I just beam with pride. It's kind of weird. No matter what happens, I understand how huge it is, and it's an interesting way to watch these games from my standpoint and from Randy Moller's viewpoint as well. So here's my interview with him. We are joined now by one of our favorites, Randy Moller, the Panthers TV analyst. And I know you've had a nice break here, but how interesting has this Four Nations face-off been? Of course, it had to be USA versus Canada in the championship game here.
Oh, John, yeah, it's been a win-win situation for everybody involved, not only the National Hockey League, the NHL Players Association that agreed and wanted this tournament best on best to happen, but for the fans, everybody involved, it's been a terrific success, and it really showcased how intense, how fast, how physical this game of hockey, and hopefully we have expanded our fan base that maybe some fans that maybe had a mild interest in this tournament now are hooked on the great game of hockey.
And we got to see, how it's difficult not to notice then when these two teams meet on Saturday night, Canada, USA, politics aside with the booing of the anthem and everything for political reasons. But Matthew Tkachuk, the Panthers' own star, and Sam Bennett involved for Canada, 3 fights in the first 9 seconds. Now, Matthew Tkachuk said afterwards it had nothing to do with the U.S. anthem being booed, rather a decision they had made earlier in the day to kind of take the momentum. What did you think of that strategy?
Yeah, well, the hockey's a very intense game, and it's the only sport that really allows fighting. And I was a little surprised, but I wasn't surprised at the intensity. These players, once they put on that jersey with their flag, their home country on the front, you're playing for the front of the jersey, not the back of the jersey where your name is. And I wasn't totally surprised, but I just love the intensity. I'm just glad that nobody got hurt in those fights. But after that was over, then the game really dictated itself and back and forth. And I just thought the speed of the game and the intensity and the fan interest in that was outstanding. There's well over 10 million people in North America that tuned in, and they say that they're going to shatter that record for a non-NHL playoff game here when they meet for the finals.
So as a guy like me who grew up in Canada and has lived here in the U.S. working for many years now, what's your excitement level heading into this championship game? There's so many emotions, I'm sure.
Yeah, there is. I'm originally from Canada, native from Canada, but I'm a U.S. citizen now. I've been in this country now for over 40 years. So I really, it may sound strange, but I really am not cheering or hoping for one side over the other. I just hope that and I know it's going to be a great showcase of the best players in the world. And I'm just hoping that it's going to be a good game, a close game, and whoever wins the game, I'm fine with. And I'm just so proud of everybody that is involved here, and that, because there was some question marks, will the players go at it 100%? Well, that got proven right off the bat. So. And I'm very, very proud and very happy for the Panthers, all 8 of the players that were involved, the most out of any NHL team, and with the representatives on all countries of Finland, Sweden, Canada, and the U.S. And that's going to bode well, too, John, for next year, because the Olympics are coming up. and they want to show their wares and impress the people that represent their countries in that for, because I know that that's a real honor too, to wear your home jersey and represent your country in Olympic Games as well.
You touched on my next question exactly. I'm just curious. Can you shed some light on how important this is to these NHL players? I mean, they're so devoted to their NHL teams. Of course, the Panthers, they're so tight. You know, they love each other. They won a cup together. They'll forever be sort of tight in that way. But how important is it for USA to beat Canada and vice versa? I mean, this is a different type of juice, right?
Yeah, it is, and we've seen over the last number of years that the USA Hockey and the development of their players here in this country has accelerated. And there's always been a competition between US and Canada. It's gone back for 50 years, and it just keeps elevating in that. And to put on this showcase, this Four Nations tournament, really, I think shows how talented not only Canada is as the home of hockey, as they say, the birthplace of hockey, but how far the U.S. has come in developing these players and to showcase at the top talent that they have.
Now, I just wanted to get back just for a second to the 3 fights in 9 seconds thing. It really is, as a player who, you know, played, I believe, I don't want to date you falsely here, but late 70s, early 80s. Am I right with that?
Yeah, I started then in 1982.
Right. Okay, 82. But you know, you were in juniors and stuff before that, I'm sure. But that the Valentine's Day Massacre comes to mind. And I think that's what it was dubbed, the Nordiques versus the Canadiens. And those were two teams that had some bad blood, specifically with that circumstance and the kind of game plan that you saw in that first 9 seconds from USA. It still is kind of, I guess, for guys like Matthew Tkachuk, an important strategy, an important part of the game to kind of shift the momentum. It was really, really shocking for those who don't often watch hockey, but old school for us who do.
Yeah, that's part of the beauty of the game of hockey that hasn't changed since it was invented 100 years ago, over 100 years ago, and that is it's built on speed, physicality, mental toughness, and rivalries. And when you incorporate all those different aspects, it's not a surprise that you see the outcome when Canada and US faced off in the first game in the preliminary rounds, and what's going to carry over now into the finals when they play for the championship of this best on best. This is what the players want. They want to play against the best, and I think this showcase has been outstanding and beyond what everybody even imagined that it could have been. The interest level now for really the kind of casual sports fan is off the charts. I mean, I'm running into people, talking to people, I'm sure you are as well, that everybody's talking about this final game and the buildup of it. And I think that bodes well with how progressive our sport has come and being a worldwide leader in elite athletes performing on the ice.
Yeah, when I was covering Mets spring training the other day, I heard it was on the Monday. I heard some New York fans saying, "I want Canada to win today, so the U.S. can kick their butt on Thursday." So it's really exciting to hear everyone talking about hockey, even at spring training, baseball writers and stuff like that. And you touched on it there: 8 Panthers, the only NHL team with players playing on all 4 of the Four Nations face-off teams. How important is that? Like, how big is that the Panthers have that many winners on it? Bodes well for back-to-back cups, or at least a chance.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a big part of it. When you become a champion, you attract a lot of attention. I'm really excited about players. I mean, we talk about world-class players like Reinhart, Tkachuk, and Barkov. Okay, that's a given. because they're Stanley Cup champions, they're world-class athletes. But for players like Anton Lundell and Eetu Loisterain and Nico Mikkola that are involved, and Gustav Forsling, this is for most of them, this is their first taste of something this large on this stage. And the experience that they have gained, and they all played extremely well in this tournament, that it is going to help the Florida Panthers here in the stretch run defending their Stanley Cup championship, and also carry over to next year and into next year's an Olympic year as well. And I fully expect that all those players are going to be representing their team. It's a great experience, and not many players, John, even if play a long career in the NHL, get that opportunity. And I know how special it is for these players.
So more of a benefit than the fact that they don't, 8 of their biggest stars don't get to rest for this 2 weeks. You think it's more of a benefit because of the experience, huh?
I think so, and that's the concern. Putting on some kind of a tournament with this much intensity right in the middle of the season and right before actually the stretch playoff, the run to the playoffs and that. But the way the Panthers' schedule is now, the heavy lifting of part of their schedule has already been completed with a lot of road trips. They only leave the Eastern time zone once. And there's quite a few breaks. And I know Paul Maurice, the head coach, and his coaching staff and all the staff, the trainers and that, will make sure that there's adequate rest for those players that played in this Four Nations tournament and that. So I'm not too concerned about it. I just hope, and we all hope, that that final game is played well, and whoever wins, but that all players, not only the Panther players, but all players come out of that without any serious injuries. Everybody plays, the old saying, John, he looks like he's going to be 100%. They're never 100%. These players are always got the bumps and bruises, and they're nicked up in that. But hopefully that they come back and there's no serious injuries. We knock on wood for that. And then the Panthers are good and healthy and motivated and confident in the stretch run. They lead the division right now, but it's going to be a real tough road these last 20-some games.
One last question. You've been so kind with your time. What have you liked from what you've seen from the Panthers, especially lately? I know it's an evolution throughout the season, even for the defending Stanley Cup champions. And what do they still need to kind of tweak if they want to go on another run and maybe win back-to-back cups?
Well, I'll quote a lot of conversations that I've had with Paul Maurice, the head coach. We all know the Panthers are loaded with talent. They're in the top 2 or 3 most talented teams in the league. The challenge for Paul Maurice, the coaching staff, and the players themselves is to try and keep that intensity up for most of the games going and into the stretch run. You don't want to hit the playoffs kind of on a downer, and that you want to be confident in the team, and it's a well-oiled machine. But that, I've been so impressed with the Panthers. You look back, and when they won the President's Trophy, then the next year they went to the Stanley Cup Finals and lost to Las Vegas. Then last year they win the Stanley Cup. This year they went to Finland. And at the start of their season, and all the games were kind of front loaded, and a lot of back-to-backs or whatever. It's a challenge to have the team play with that intensity night after night. And I think the Panthers, a credit to the players and the coaching staff, they've been able to accomplish that for most nights.
So excited for this game on Thursday, and then for the rest of the Panthers season. And it's a win-win for you. Enjoy that Four Nations face-off final, and thanks for shedding some light on it for us today, Randy.
Oh, well, thank you for having me on. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the game, and I'm also looking forward to, I'm getting antsy as well. I want to get back broadcasting, and the Panthers start their season back up on Saturday night hosting the Seattle Kraken, and then away we go, the sprint to the playoffs, and it's going to be really exciting. Thanks for having me on.
Just hearing Randy's voice gets me excited for the second half of the Panthers season, and it is interesting though. Like, what he said there. Like, there is a bunch of the team and a bunch of the league that's getting, that got 2 weeks off, and even though there's 8 Panthers players that did not, they got to have this unique taste of of just ultra competitive hockey. That's not just regular season NHL hockey. And who knows, that could bode well moving forward. Not like a Stanley Cup champion needs any more experience or motivation, but this could be it. I mean, just to have 8 Panthers in the Four Nations face-off and then to have them experience that, it might rekindle something.
Well, and I think for diehard hockey fans like you and me, I think the fact that NHL players are going back to the Olympics, they're bringing back the World Cup of Hockey again, we're going to see more and more of best-on-best play. And I think that's what, like,
bring it on.
That's what everybody wants. Everybody wants to see Sidney Crosby against Matthew Tkachuk or Barkov against Erik Karlssons of the world,
it's the
or
best.
Nylander, whatever.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you only get it once every 4 years with the Olympics. I mean, and you haven't
Next
even
year.
got it. Yeah, right. And you haven't even got it since then because obviously the NHL wasn't playing in the Olympics for a little bit.
Thank God they're changing it back.
Thank God.
We're going to get
Thank
that
God.
next year.
Thank
yeah.
God. So I think, especially on Thursday, I think this game, and everybody said it, even Randy said it, it's going to be a special game because there's nothing more that unites Canada. They love hockey. Everybody loves a reason to cheer for USA because of that national pride. So, you know, I think it's going to be a fun one. I think it's going to be an intense one. I think it's going to be – I kind of see Canada starting off how USA started off in the first game. I feel like
Hagel already said we're not in group chats. We're not in text chats.
No,
okay?
but I
we know
can
what this
see
means.
like
There's already some shots fired.
I can see like a Sam Bennett like initiating it because Canada doesn't back down from a fight.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see.
Imagine Sam Bennett fights Matthew Tkachuk.
Oh my God! So everybody's fighting everybody.
They're buddies,
I'm
man.
curious to hear your thoughts and how this game's going to go on Thursday.
God, that's the fun part about it. It's like I don't have an answer. I could not predict. I do feel like there's a possibility. I could totally picture it going to overtime. 100%.
Sidney Crosby scoring the golden goal. And
So you just hit on something right there. If Canada wins in overtime, it will most definitely be Sidney Crosby. I feel like if the U.S. if it goes to OT, it's going to be one of the Tkachuk brothers. It just has to be. It would be a perfect ending.
Yeah.
So, but it's as far as making a prediction, let's just enjoy it, man. I know it's going to be close.
Yeah, and you know, there's a lot of questions also like heading into the game. Obviously, we know, you know, in the semifinals, you know, Matthew Tkachuk didn't play. Brady Tkachuk got hurt driving to the net. Matthews didn't play.
USA's banged up.
Charlie McAvoy's already confirmed out for this game. So, you know, it's tough. I will say Matthew Tkachuk and Austin Matthews did practice today. They're expected to play.
Coach said yesterday, or at least on Tuesday, that Quinn Hughes, he's on his way. And then, you know, footage came out of him at Vancouver Canucks practice. So
Jake Sanders, Mike Sullivan's like, yo, Sanderson, take a sick day out. No, but but I think it's all going to come up to Canada's goaltending. And that was one of the things I mentioned at the beginning of this tournament.
Yeah.
And we saw, like, very early on, it was Canada and Sweden in that first game. Canada was up, let in a couple leaky goals. We saw it against Finland. You know, Canada was up 4-0 at one point, and you saw Finland just make an incredible attempt at a comeback.
Yeah.
Jordan Binnington looked very shaky.
Sure, yeah, that's the weakness. That's Canada's weakness
right.
is their goaltending, and
And I will say, like the difference in this game is going to be the forecheck of America. If Brady and Matthew Tkachuk can forecheck the way that they did, even though they're not 100%, I think that's the big difference in what's going to settle this game again. Because if you saw, like everybody did in that first game, Canada had no idea how to solve that forecheck.
Yeah.
It was like every time the Americans dumped the puck in, there really wasn't like any urgency of Canada. Like, oh man, we got to go back and get this puck again.
Yeah.
So
And
I like not being Homer. I just think. Again, I think Team USA has the better built roster. Even if players aren't 100%, I still think the depth of America, of USA, is better than Canada. And I kind of want to bring this up a little bit too. I think if you're Canada, I think you have to make a slight difference because I think it's the last game. I think if you're John Cooper, I think you load up that first line. I think you go McDavid, McKinnon, and Crosby. And I think you drop Mark Stone to the third line because I think he's a very good third liner. And you bring up Mitch Marner up to the second line because I think if it's for Canada, if they have any chance of winning this game, obviously, like, it's cliche, but they are going to have to outscore the Americans. And why not just load up? It's the gold medal game. You have granted, you have everything to lose if you lose, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I just feel like it's such a short window as it is for them to start jiving together that to start changing the lines, a week and a day into this thing to try to for the gold.
Fair
might be a little bit like, let's get to know. I'm sure they're practicing their.
I feel like Mitch Marner's a better playmaker.
Yeah.
Than obviously Mark Stone is.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think the other thing that gives me this feeling it's going to be one of the Tkachuk brothers, and I could picture that scenario is remember just Brady Tkachuk more or less crying in the stands when Matthew Tkachuk won the Stanley Cup. And
we saw him on the ice after.
Yeah, and his brother's always so it's going to be his time one day and stuff. Like, how sweet would it be to see those two?
Because Brady's never been even in the playoffs.
Yeah. So to have them share, it just seems like that's the type of family they are. Like, I could just picture Matthew and Brady sharing a moment like that. That would make it really special. But then again, Rhino and Bennett there's so much to cheer for, man. I just can't wait to watch it.
Yeah. And it's going to be a great game. And again, just to kind of wrap this up, I just hope that everybody appreciates the talent that is on the ice and the magnitude of this game. Because again, it has been a long time since we've seen any hockey like this. And to see the best of the best, just go for. Couldn't write it any different, right? USA, Canada, gold medal game. Yeah. Just appreciate it, enjoy it, because it doesn't come around often.
And go watch Miracle if you can, the day leading up to
Honestly,
the game.
you know what? We're going to put this out here. You know what? Tweet the best Florida Sports Pod because we want to see your guys' best Herb Brooks impersonation. And you know what? We might air it next week.
Oh, it'll be better than mine. I know that. That part I do know. All right, so let's completely. So you and I, and our friend Taylor, I've been covering TGL like crazy, but you joined me.
I did
at SoFi Center in Palm Beach Gardens
where
Tuesday.
You did not know where to lead us. We went down like 4 different paths. I thought you were the veteran.
There's a lot of paths. Yeah,
I thought you were a veteran of the SoFi Center. And I'm just rolling around with my little cart, and everyone's like, "Oh no, we got to make a U-turn."
Yeah. There is a lot.
We got there eventually.
There's some confusing, winding little sidewalks around SoFi Center that freak me out. But yeah. Once you get in, you get to see all that state-of-the-art golf technology, Tiger Woods practice. I like when we were setting up for our shot. He's like, "Hey, just if you don't mind, behind you," the media guy, Adam out there, he's a great guy. He's like, "Behind you, there might be
the
goat might come there, Tiger Woods, and start practicing in the green. So don't mind him." It's like, oh, that would be awful. We don't want. He's going to ruin our shot.
Somebody tell Tiger to go sit down. We don't want him in the shot.
But what'd you think of TGL? I mean, I know. I experienced it the opposite way. So it was Tiger Woods' Jupiter Lynx team taking on Ricky Fowler in New York. And I experienced TGL in a different way than you. I was out there for the first 2 or 3 matches, never saw it on TV until maybe match 4 or 5. You've only seen it on TV, and now you've gone out and you've checked it out, what it's like being there in person as my camera guy, but also soaking it in a little bit. What'd you think?
Honestly, the venue is super dope. It's like a super intimate, it's like Tiger. You're sitting from me to you. Tiger Woods is right there, hammering golf balls. You get to see the GOAT up close in person. I will say the only negative thing is because on the TV broadcast, right, you can hear the monologue between the players and like the funny jokes that they say. I think you kind of lose that a little bit when you're sitting in the stands because you don't hear the monologue. You don't hear the jokes that Tiger's cracking or Ricky's cracking or whatever. But I think overall, as an experience, it was super fun. It was super cool to see the venue. I'm over here like dabbing up CC Sabathia like I know him, like, you know, new Hall of Famer.
That's
out
Max
there,
for you, yeah.
just dabbing people up.
Max
No
is the
big
type of
deal.
guy who walks up to anybody and like, hey, what's up? And
Ricky
then they
Fowler,
can't
like-
help but think that they probably know him, so
Ricky
they just go
Fowler's
with
like,
it.
who the hell is this guy? Like trying to say what up. But
Yeah.
I will say, overall, it was a super cool experience. I'm super glad I got to experience it in person for the first time.
Yeah.
Like I said, like if you're trying to see like these players up close and personal on an intimate level, it is something you have to go do because again, like
Bucket list for any
you
golf
can
fan.
only get so close, like when you're at the Cognizant or
Yeah.
the Masters or
Yeah.
wherever.
Yeah.
But like just to see in that just chill atmosphere, the crowd was getting fired up. I mean, Kevin Kisner, I believe, had a remarkable shot on the par 3. Like,
What
the
about
crowd was
Tiger
getting
like
fired
grabbing a
up.
wedge instead of did you see that?
I did.
He was like, hey, what's the distance here? 99. And it was 199. And he grabbed a wedge. As soon as he tees off, he's like, what is he doing? He's got a wedge.
I will say,
Yeah.
it wasn't the finest golf playing for those guys yesterday. So it made me feel really good that, hey, like, Ricky Fowler just drove it into the woods over there out of bounds. I was like, hey,
Yeah.
man, I got the same skill as Ricky Fowler. Let's get it.
But the technology is
super dope.
ridiculous. And so, and it's just what golf needed. I think they have it right. I think people are starting to see their personalities, a little shy at first, maybe over the first few matches, but they're starting to feel more comfortable. They're forgetting the cameras are there. And, when you're at the Cognizant Classic, no, or any PGA Tour tournament, it's a different animal. Like these guys walk up to the tee. They've just come from the other green, and you're waiting there for like 15 minutes, and you see them. They got their game face on. There's not much going on there except you just see their game
They're just
faces.
in the zone. Like,
yeah, they're in the zone.
You get,
They
like,
tee
zero
off.
interaction. Like,
Yeah, so it's more you follow them around and you take it in that way, and it's brilliant to see like the best golfers in the world play, tackle an 18-hole golf course like that. But this just gives you something else. I think this is kind of like what will draw in more fans and more young fans. There is a vessel to get to know these guys, and then when they are in that scene that I just described, traditional golf, you can appreciate them a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think like that was part of the key of TGL was like, again, getting the fans up close and personal with their favorite golfers. You can see them like behind the tournament phase, as you say. I mean, because Tiger Woods was not hitting great shots, like whatever, and he was laughing it off. Like, sure, it's a competition; they want to win, but like, they're also just having a good time.
Tiger Woods called it the most embarrassing moment in his career when he grabbed that wedge, and also he must have been very emotional as well, obviously, because his mom just passed away.
Yeah, and I will say,
a couple of weeks ago.
Scott Van Pelt, in the stands, they played the Scott Van Pelt preview. They had Tiger on pre-match interview. Scott Van Pelt, brought up his mom and just being able to see her put on the Sunday red, and you could tell like Tiger got choked up because as he should. Why wouldn't he?
He said he had a tough time getting there, just driving there, remembering just a few weeks ago when he drove there with his mom.
Because he said that was the last time she saw him play.
Yeah, and he said just the memory. I think he said, if I got this right, Charlie was driving, and she was all into that, seeing him because he just got his license and stuff. So very sad for Tiger. We you feel for him, but for him to be able to get out there and have a laugh with the guys and play some golf, all part of the morning process. And but overall, you had a good time.
Absolutely.
Did you grab a bevy or anything or some food? Did you go up to the luxury boxes?
I got the food. I got the media food, as you would expect, is sensational. I believe they had short rib. They had some sort of chicken there. And
that was short rib? I didn't realize that was short rib.
I believe it was short rib.
Oh, wow.
I'm not the exact
if I could go back,
foodie
I would
guy,
have that.
and the best part was they had ice cream sandwiches after. So yeah, ice cream sandwiches. I'm a sucker for ice cream.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was overall pleased with the experience.
All right, so the ice cream sandwich bumped it up to an a B plus to an A. I think for you is
that's
what
fair.
I'm taking
Yeah,
here.
I agree with that. Absolutely.
But the TV, it's great. So we're so spoiled.
Speaking of TV and golf,
Yeah, we're so spoiled in Palm Beach County. I mean, we have TGL every week, and now we're having it like 2 days a week. It was a triple header Monday. And then next week, we've got the Cognizant Classic at PGA National. A little different. It's run by the PGA Tour. What did you say?
The Bear Trap.
Yes, you sound weird. You sound like Freddy Krueger.
well, yeah, because the bear trap is intimidating. So
Yeah,
why not?
It is. The Bear Trap. Yeah. So have you played it? Have you played PGA?
I have not played the bear trap.
Bear
I have
Trap?
played. I played PJ National. I played the matchmaker course. I have not played the champions course.
Have you seen the movie Cocaine Bear?
I have.
Well, how is it? I've yet to see it.
My advice to you is go into it with as little expectations as possible.
Oh, I would have zero
because
expectations. Yeah.
I did that. I went into that zero expectations. I was like, this movie is going to effing suck. I'm going to hate it. But when you go into a movie like that, that's when movies shine. So I thought I'd probably give it a C+.
Between Cocaine Bear and the movie Megan, which movie's better?
Me personally, I think I'm going to go Cocaine Bear.
Hey, what were we talking about again? The Cognizant
Classic.
I don't know how we went on these movie reviews.
Well, I brought up
right.
the Bear Trap, and then
Yeah,
you somehow
Cocaine Bear.
brought up Cocaine Bear.
Yeah. So speaking of the Bear Trap, the Cognizant Classic is totally run by the PGA Tour now. Todd Fleming is the new vice president and executive director. He has a different vision. Everything is kind of scaled down as far as the luxury boxes go. It's way more open. It kind of reminds me of like when you see, I don't know, like if this is crazy, but when you see like a link, like the British Open or the links courses where everything
It's just like
is
an open concept.
yeah, and more of an open concept. It's definitely not a links course, but it kind of has that feel to it where there's going to be more nooks and crannies that we can kind of walk around and see it from general admission gallery members. I'm really interested to see how it's going to play from a fan perspective, the upsetting thing is you see some bigger names on TGL playing next week. A lot of them aren't playing at the Cognizant Classic. I think there was like 5 overall TGL golfers who are committed to also play at the Cognizant Classic. Ricky Fowler, Billy Horschel.
I believe Daniel Berger, the local guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's not
Dwyer
TGL, but I
Zone.
love watching him play. The defending champion, of course, Aaron Eckroat. It's funny with the Cognizant, there always seems to be somebody who you've never heard of, and then they end up dominating the week and winning, and you kind of get to know them in the 4 days, and then you feel like they're your own. Like, hey, that's a former, we used to say, that's a former Honda Classic, Cognizant Classic. You feel like you get to know them, and you own them almost. Like Palm Beach County is kind of like their honorary home. It's where they first won a championship,
Right.
and then you start to notice them at the Masters and
Yeah.
stuff. You've been going for years. What's your favorite thing about the tournament, and what do you hope does not change this year? Because it's going to be a little different. There's no doubt about it.
I'm kind of with you. Like, I guess I'm a little curious to see how this open concept works because, you've been out there for years. I've been out there for years, running around that golf course, trying to get highlights of everybody. And I think like one of the things that like was super attractive to me was, like the super grandstands on 17. The big grandstands on 18 coming in,
You're talking about going in and being in the grandstands yourself?
As a
or
fan.
just seeing them?
I think a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, especially for players who have played there before, like I wonder how the visual perspective for them is going to change. Because, like, again, for people that don't know, when you're walking down 18 fairway onto the green, I don't know, what is it, 3-4 story high grandstands that were surrounding the
No longer.
green.
Have you seen what it looks like now in 18?
I have not yet.
Completely different. It's
Well,
one,
right,
I think
so
it's
again-
one level.
Right.
And there's a lot more room. See, the only negative to that you mentioned is there was all those big three-story, and it was the 18 was surrounded. So the only way in there was through that one walkway. And once he got in there, there wasn't all that much room to stand and watch. So now it's completely open, just so it's going to be a very different look to 18. I think more people are going to be taking in that final hole.
Yeah, and I from what I think we heard last night, like even like 16, they took some of the stands away from 16 that leads to 17. So that's going to be a little bit more open. So I think one of the things that I always look forward to is like it was that big party atmosphere, right? Like it was almost like the Waste Management Open and the fact of like everybody went there because it was a big party.
Yeah.
And I think obviously, for Palm Beach County people, like this is their party, right? This is their Super Bowl. Like,
yeah.
Golf, everybody loves golf. Everybody comes to
you see everyone
to play
out there.
Golf.
People who you never think you would be into golf, and they are maybe not even into golf.
No,
but they
they're
go
just
out
there
and
just
they
to have
love
a
it.
good time.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so I think that's the one thing that I hope doesn't change is the party atmosphere of like just going out, having a good time. But I am excited, honestly, for me, it doesn't really like matter, like, if the big names are there. Obviously, you want the big names there. But, for me, covering all these years, like, it's just cool to go out and see these guys. And, for a guy that's, like, started to pick up the game of golf, like, I've only been playing it, a year and a half, 2 years. Mm-hmm. So, like, now I kind of have a different perspective, like, let me see how this guy does this swing. Like, almost like a tutorial, taking in the sights of like, oh man.
So you're the guy. You're going to go to the.
I'm taking a notepad.
You'll be with me at the practice range, watching all the different swings.
Yeah, absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
The 5 guys who are on TGL, who are also double dipping next week, are Lucas Glover, Cameron Young, Billy Horschel.
I love the fact that you always got to put your glasses on.
I know. The eyes, get into your 40s soon, Max, and your eyes will be blurry as mine. It's a sad scene. They're the first thing to go. Thank goodness. And Shane Lowry.
Okay, I got a question for you. I think everybody knows, like, Shane Lowry getting a hole-in-one on 17?
That would be his celebration alone is worth looking forward to that.
I think that's like one thing too is like if they could like maybe take something from the Waste Management is like on 17, like if somebody gets a hole-in-one, why not throw a few beers around, man? It's like especially with the Palm Beach party crowd, I feel like that could work a little bit.
What a scene that would be. Let's hope that comes true. Now, from a business standpoint, there's no better guy to talk to about where we're at with the Cognizant Classic. With the PGA Tour taking it over and where it could be going. I had a chance. I talk to Rick Horrow every week for Inside the Billions on CBS.
Horrow, that's our guy.
Yeah. He's the our sports business analyst. He travels the world. He knows everything. And here's my conversation with him, short but sweet, about the upcoming Cognizant Classic next week. Oh, there he is, the sports professor. He's back, Rick Horrow. Time for Inside the Billions. Would you say that the PGA Tour is a billion-dollar industry? I know golf is.
Well, the PGA Tour certainly is. The PGA Tour combined with the LIV events and their new deal with Fox and ITV will be the idea of a potential merger. Nobody's talking about it. Everybody's on eggshells. And the fact that there is a event down here in 3 or 4 weeks, that's also big. So I think we're getting to the point almost like, remember when kart and IndyCar split and nobody really kind of cared at the end of the day. Then they came back. We're not there yet, but we can see it.
So the Cognizant Classic is coming up next week, of course, and it's run by the PGA Tour now. Different executive director, Todd Fleming, and he has a different vision. Not as many luxury boxes, at least from a 3-decker standpoint, and more room for people on foot with general admission tickets to kind of get a vantage point. Way more open. Now, is this a case of reimagining the Cognizant Classic, or is it a different way of bringing in the money?
Well, it's always a different way of bringing in the money. That's pretty clear. But the reimagining also, it provides kind of a new perspective to see what happens. The event, look, the tournament schedule has never been kind to the Honda ever since the 1977 Jackie Gleason injury. And I was there. I was going through the golf balls. I have my whole collection of Honda, Inverary when it was in Marisol, all of the Broward. This is still the preeminent event in Palm Beach County. We have another event we'll talk about later, the James Hardy Pro Golf Football Hall of Fame Invitational. Ken Kennerly's doing that too. So we have some titans in the industry, and this is one of those times where we show it off in a 4 or 5 week period. So different strokes for different folks. I don't want to cast judgment on the building plans around the Bear Trap and around some of the other holes. We'll see how it all shakes out. But the real key is how to enhance the fan experience and how to generate revenue. Everybody's for that.
It's really interesting, though, because, Palm Beach County is widely known as kind of the center of the golf universe. All of the golfers live here and everything like that. So it's always crazy to think that they have struggled in recent years drawing the big names. It just goes to show how complex all the different golf schedules are in 2025.
Well, also there's the presumption that because the course is close to where a lot of these guys live, it'll be easy to play it. Well, yeah, but these guys all have jets and all of these other courses are close to where they live. And so that's not the issue. The issue is the relative beginning of the Florida swing at the end of the California swing, when the Players is preparing for the Masters. These are all individual corporations. They put themselves first. There are these signature events that are also qualification oriented. But Palm Beach County has a special place for golf. The TGL is just down the street, as we've talked about. We now have the James Hardy event, which is a great bookend. The LPGA has been here. So let's not underestimate the economic impact of all of these events for Palm Beach County.
All right. Well, I think this is my, if I'm not mistaken, first one I ever covered was in 2013 when it was still the Honda Classic. So this must be my 13th coming up, right? Am I right? Or 12th? 12th. This is my 12th coming up.
I'm not good at math, dude.
What's your favorite moment from the blank Classic? Cognizant Classic now.
I will say, I think my favorite moment of the tournament was, it was 2018, and Justin Thomas was coming down 18, had to get a birdie, I believe, to force a playoff with Luke List. And it was the second shot, and for the people that don't know at home, I'm going to take you a little in-depth tech knowledge here. When you're using a camera, trying to follow the golf ball in the air is probably one of the most difficult things in American history ever.
And you like to get that ball like filling the entire screen.
I want to
that's your mission.
That's like NFL Films like version. So my favorite moment was Justin Thomas. I believe it was the second shot. I got that ball perfect in the camera. Landed right by the hole, gets a birdie, forces a playoff, wins the playoff. I think that was probably just the most special moment. Was like, I felt like I was part of like the network camera crew because I got that ball in the air as perfectly as you could possibly get, and that was probably like one of the coolest moments I have ever had at the
I guarantee you, if you compare your footage with what the footage that network got there, that yours would be better. That's just how much I know you.
It was great
Shepman.
because there was like, it was tough too because like I think even Justin Thomas said, it's like, dude, I couldn't see the ball in the air. Like I thought it went in the water. So like, it was darkening at that time because, when it gets close, it gets a little dark. And like somehow just magically found it in the sky. And it was probably the greatest, that was probably my greatest like moment of the tournament. And honestly, probably one of my sports shooting career of all time. So I'll take
that's
that
awesome. I'm glad I asked that. You know what an opposite moment is there was in 2022, and all of us had to deal with it. I don't think
rainstorm.
Dude, right as they were coming in.
Hey, remember when the Honda Classic scoreboard blew away?
Oh, it was crazy. So and they're coming in. Sepp Straka has a chance to win. I think someone must have missed it. I can't remember exactly what the details were. But right as, the leaders were coming in on 18, out of nowhere, it had been sunny all day. There was not in the forecast. This little like micro cloud just came right over us. I don't know if that's proper terminology. And just like poured, like rain like you've never felt before. None of the camera guys had their rain gear. We all had to just kind of run into the tunnel or everything would have been ruined. Sepp Straka pulls off the victory. No one got it. No, like I watched every sportscast that night, and everyone had to take off NBC, you know, from some weird above camera that like even they got like tricked.
It's probably like one of those things where like, yo, like there's lightning in the air or something like, so we're going to go with the most random camera we have possible.
It definitely like affected the ending of the tournament too, because I can't remember who it was, but someone missed their putt. But Sepp Straka won, I think it was his first ever PGA Tour victory. Normally the presentation is out on 18. We all had to go inside. Everyone was soaked, miserable. He did his press conference inside. It's cold. You're in air conditioning and your clothes are soaking wet.
Especially like if you got a camera, like you go inside, lens is fogged up.
That happened too,
yeah.
It was the most inconvenient and miserable ending from the opposite of your story. But I think my favorite Honda Classic memory, because it's back when it was the Honda Classic, now it's the Cognizant, of course, but was 2015, Patrick Harrington and Daniel Berger in the Monday playoff. And Berger was just a young kid. Like, he had just a few years from graduating from Dwyer, for crying out loud. He went to the tournament when he was a kid with his dad. Suddenly he's in this like dramatic Monday playoff with one of the, the veterans of the game. He ended up losing in the end. Harrington won, but I think that was a really special one for me in 2015 just because of all the cool storylines that went along with that.
Well, and again, I think it goes to the fact of like, no matter who's playing, like there can be magical moments at this tournament.
Always is.
So just because, the Tiger Woods of the world aren't playing or whatever, like go with expectations that something special is going to happen.
Yeah. There always ends up being an exciting storyline. And as I say, if it's a new champion, we own them for life. They won first in Palm Beach Gardens. Can't wait. So next week I'll be out there. We'll do our podcast somehow. We haven't figured out how, but I'll be out at the Cognizant Classic and I'll talk to you over our podcast microphones at that point.
Heck yeah. Well, I can't. Right. I'm looking forward to it, buddy. Have fun out there if I don't see you out there when I do. But, this is obviously episode 23. We appreciate you guys listening.
And Sam will be back next week looking like a lobster.
Sam will be back next week. Enjoy USA, Canada. Enjoy all the sports that are going on. Obviously like, listen, follow, subscribe to the podcast. If you want to do your best Herb Brooks impersonation, we want to see it on the Twitter. So make sure to tweet us. So peace out, everybody.
Yeah, it won't be hard topping me on that one, Max. Yeah, send them in.
Best Florida Sports Podcast drops every Thursday morning. Listen on your favorite platform or watch on YouTube.